All right. So, my name is Evan Strong, and I make content, videos like this, geared primarily around the lacing of our shoes, the tying of our shoes, and the things within our clothing, the discrepancies in those things left to right, forward and back, that pull our bodies out of their natural functioning center line. And I focus on the clothing that we wear because the clothing is the thing that's always on our bodies. So I show little tweaks, little modifications, very slight, easy things we can all do within our own clothing to allow it to sit on our bodies in a way that just lets our bodies do what our bodies want to do and what they will do until we alter their natural workings with clothing. So, I've talked about shoelaces a lot. I've talked about drawstrings also, and my prerequisites that I always say are: first, lace your shoes with my lacing technique, which you can find within my content in many different places. Tie your shoes evenly over toward the inside on both sides to allow for that even internal rotation, and remove the tags from everything that you wear, including the tongues of your shoes all the way up. Just those things alone, no matter what, they're prerequisites just to allow your body to have the option to function normally. But just those things alone will really change your life. So, what I'm going to talk about is flat versus round, or round versus flat, and the importance of things being round. Because round is much more of a natural thing than flat. Here's a flat shoelace, right? And here's a round shoelace. If you just think about trees, they're round. There's not much flat in nature. And this is something I've talked about before, here and there. Flat is kind of something we feel is common because it's common nowadays out of man-made things. Like this tabletop is flat. The concrete slab below this is flat. Normally our streets and our pathways, concrete and asphalt, they pave them flat. But at the base of these trees, there's dirt. It's very textured. Nature doesn't have very much flat to it. And our bodies like texture, and they like things that are natural, because our bodies are natural. When I talk about clothing, I almost always say that we should, really I do say, we should have 100% natural materials if we can, right, against our bodies. And there's so much man-made material nowadays that we're placing on us. I mentioned how polyester is just oil that's turned into plastic, and we place it directly on our skin, and how that can actually seep into our skin like a topical cream you use on top of your skin to heal the inside. Same thing happens wearing polyester, getting hot and sweaty, your pores open up, and that goes into your body. So I know that I say that polyester is something we really shouldn't have against our bodies, but paracord has just about an unmatchable level of versatility, and I appreciate paracord a lot. And I use paracord. I actually am using paracord as a belt right now, and I'm using this same stuff right here, this blue, as laces for my boots right now. So I'm always talking about 100% natural materials, and yes, that is ideal, but I also really do appreciate paracord. So this is actually one of my belts. I cut some of this to this length, which is just long enough to where it's slightly longer than my waist, to where I can tie the knot that I've shown before that allows an even drawstring around your waist, right? I've shown this knot. It's like this. It pulls tight, and then you can just cinch it up, and it's not really working right now for a demonstration, but anyway, maybe it just needs to be around. There we go. So it pulls tight, and then you can adjust it, and it is tight in that position. It works better when it's actually around your waist, but I've shown that before. You can go through and find that in my content. I love that for a drawstring knot, because then you pull it and it's evenly horizontal. And for shoelaces, paracord is, it's not that you necessarily need paracord, and I'm not focusing on paracord really, even though I really do like the versatility of it. But if you were to compare this flat shoelace, right, to a round one, flat shoelaces sit differently on the top of your foot. If you use flat drawstrings around your waist, well, if it's flat all the way around, completely even and flat, that's one thing. But if it gets a slight twist in it somewhere, now that's going to be sitting on your hips and pulling you in a little bit of a twist. And where the weight is, it's going to affect it if it's twisting. Something that's round doesn't really change when it twists, right? So if you have a drawstring around your waist and it's flat, if there's a twist within it, it's going to cause discrepancies in your hips. So I would prefer to have round in every case of rope on the body. When it comes to these kind of flat shoelaces, these are just pretty much universal. Like this type is pretty much all the same. It's just like woven. Let's see if you can see this with the cell phone camera. Yeah, you can see it, and you've probably seen it in your own life. It's very, very common for shoes to have this type of shoelace. I've talked about how we should never have stretchy anything on our bodies, because our bodies can't predict something that's stretchy. As I was mentioning, with the round things being natural, so are stiff, firm things. There's just about nothing, might be something here or there, but just about nothing within nature that's stretchy. And our bodies don't like stretchy, and I've been over that. With these shoelaces, like there's slack here. If I pull it taut, now there's that much more room, right? It's taut, and then there's that stretch that you can see. See, my fingers are still moving back and forth, even though there's no like slack. When that's in your shoelaces, well, laced in your shoes, it causes your feet to use excess stabilizing muscles to do anything. Because even sitting right now, my feet are active. And when your feet are in an active or activated, as I say, position, I say it that way because it's not that it's any kind of sports type active. It's just that your muscles are turned on, as they constantly should be. Activated causes the least amount of energy to have to be used. If your muscles are deactivated, you have to activate them to move. But if I'm activated already, I can just move, right? If you have give and stretch because this isn't quite stretch, but it's like give, right? This you'll pull and it gets to the end, and you can hear it. You probably can hear that through the mic. This one, well, it makes noise too, but this one has just this solid end point, and this one hits kind of an end point and then it moves again. And I do this because it's your body's like going to try to figure out where the end point is, as I've talked about within stretchy clothing, and it can't predict that because it moves when it feels like it's done. So having a shoelace within your shoe that's going to allow give, when your foot activates, it's like pressing against the shoelace, right? The shoelace is on top of the foot. When the foot activates an arch, it's pressing up against that shoelace. So what you want is it to be a very firm endpoint, okay? When we're using excess stabilizing muscles just to do anything, we're actually fatiguing our bodies when we don't need to. I actually had these shoelaces in these boots that I'm currently wearing for, I think it was 2 days, yesterday and the day before. I'm pretty sure it was only those 2 days. I put them in just to try it. I was praying through it and I felt like I should. I think the reason that I was supposed to was to kind of learn my lesson, because I've known this, and like I've talked about within my content, today's the 6th of September 2024. It's been about 1.5 years since shoelaces were the start of everything within the human body for me, and finding out what it really means to have just like a natural functioning body started with barefoot shoes, and my thought about realizing that we were tying them unevenly because I could feel the pull on my feet more since there's less material within the shoe. So within that past 1.5 years, I've messed with different types of shoelaces. And so I learned through experience, through prayer, that round is better. But the past couple days, having these flat, little bit give, stretch type shoelaces in my shoes, just these very common ones. I think this is probably the most common shoelace in 2024, probably. Having those in my shoes, just doing my regular things the past couple days, I was getting fatigued in a different kind of way. And my body didn't feel like it was quite... Our bodies are so much more, this is stuff I've talked about, but we're so much more capable than we think. Because when we're just fighting our clothing constantly, when it's on us, we have no kind of reference of what our body is actually doing. We just know its relation to how it's reacting to what's on it. And I noticed that big time. Just in those 2 days, pretty much immediately, you notice it's quite a bit different because it reacts differently to the way that your foot activates. I've talked about how even when I'm sitting right now, my feet are active. So it doesn't have to be doing any kind of activity. You notice it immediately. So having round is important. Like I said, it just doesn't get altered when it twists. You can see this up close. If I twist it, it's still basically going to react the same. If I twist something that's flat, it wants to be flat, but once it's twisted, now it's like different, right? So if you have round laces, your shoe will feel the same from the base of the lacing to where you tie the knot, because it's all going to be even thickness. If you have flat, and some parts of like the weave of the laces from like the base of where you start the lacing up to the knot, if some of those are flat and some of them are twisted up, now that's going to react different. If you put pressure against something that's twisted like this, that's flat, versus pressure against something that's actually flat, the surface area is wider in certain parts on the top of your foot. The give is different. There's a lot that will be really different. So if you have these flat shoelaces, which are very common in 2024, what I would say might be good is to really twist them up as you lace them, so that way they're actually quite, the give will be a lot less at that point, and it will almost react like a round lace, but then it's twisted, and so then when you put pressure, it's reacting with that twist. So drawstrings, shoelaces, really anything within life, rope wise, round it's just more natural. Like, look at the trees, right? It's just natural. I mean, even these little weeds right here, they have a round trunk. Round is a very natural shape. So, yes. Yeah. And I've never talked about this within my content like this. So there's a really high level of importance to round. Okay. Cool. Yes. Make sure that you lace your shoes with my technique. Not because it's my technique, but because it really is the way to just allow your shoe to fit as a glove would on your hand, and allow all the operation within the foot to be there within still having something on it, because there's still a shoe on your foot, and it's not natural to have anything on your body because your body wants to just do its thing. But that's what I do within my content, within clothing. I show little things that we can do, very slight, that just allow our clothing to sit as naturally on us as we can, to just allow natural function. So I'm going to be designing clothing, and it's going to be minimal clothing. It's going to be made of 100% natural materials. It's going to allow for the natural hinge points of the body, and sit where it needs to. Shoulder seams behind the shoulders, at the shoulders, pants above the hips. It's just going to be even, and just allow us to just have clothing, including myself, that we can just purchase and we don't have to make any kind of modifications to just allow our bodies to work. So I have a lot of videos that I've posted up until this point that are all free content. You can go in and find little modifications that I've shown you can do within the clothing you already have to allow it to be centered. And then once I make clothing, look out for that. If you'd like to buy it, please, 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 if you ever purchase my clothing, purchase it in your size. Do not buy my clothing oversized to fit fashionably. The only reason I'm designing clothing is to allow it to sit on your body where it needs to, for your body to function how it would. Do not buy my clothing oversized. Okay, so thank you. Stick around for clothing. It will come, and I'm excited for it personally. So try, if you can, to have round shoelaces, round drawstrings. I've made content on the drawstring knot to allow it to be even. You don't want to be tying your drawstrings, twisting your hips. And my shoelace technique is many places. Foundational things. Thank you. I'm very excited. I'm very, very excited for clothing because it's going to be entirely new for me. I've never done anything like that, designing clothing. But I know what it does personally, out of personal experience, to our bodies, to our livelihood, to just not having to ever stretch, not having to ever work out for the sake of working out, or exercise for the sake of exercise. When we allow our bodies to just function as they're designed to, universally in the image of our God, Jesus the Christ. So, look out for clothing. It's going to be awesome. Thank you. And yeah, it's a big journey. Big journey that's going to change a lot of lives, including my own. So, yes. Round. Shout out to paracord. Even though it's polyester. It's awesome. So, yes. Okay, when you lace your shoes, stop the lacing at your ankle so that you still have all the range of motion within your ankle. And just kind of feel like maybe there's something else I need to mention. Yes. Same thing goes for drawstrings around the waist. Keep your drawstrings stiff. If you have give around your waist, your core is not going to activate normally, okay? Your hips are not going to function normally because it's unpredictable. And your body just wants to do what it does. It doesn't want external things to have to work around. So Yes. Goes for anything that you place on your body. Okay? Cool. All right. Thank you.